So I wanted to talk about something today that we don't usually talk about here in the hall, but a couple of things just recently kind of reminded me how significant this was, and that is devotion. Do we talk a lot about devotion in here? No. Are many of the types of people who are coming to meditation and mindfulness, even Buddhism, are they coming because they're looking for a path of devotion? No. and yet I think devotion is very important. But in Buddhism, it means something differently than what many of us are used to. So we live in, this is just for us normal people. What are normal people in Tampa devoted to? Devotion, people are devoted, right? It's not less like in the religious realm. What are people in Tampa devoted to? Sports, right? All right, they can be devoted to who? Lightning, Bucks, what? Rays, right? And they're all levels of devotion, aren't there? There are some people who randomly maybe attend a game, but there's some people who are very devoted, right? A lot of their energy, they're always aware of how their team is doing, don't they? And they want to support their team, don't they? And when their team does well, how do they feel? Great, very happy. When their team doesn't do well, how are they? Not happy. So what else are people in Tampa devoted to? Work. Yeah, we'll go on down. Work. Right. Now, is everybody devoted to work? Who goes to work? What? No. But there are some people who what? Who are very devoted to their work, very committed, very loyal. What else are people devoted to in Tampa? Funsome. Having fun. Some people take their fun stuff very seriously, don't they? Very much part of their life. Having fun, very, very important. Very devoted. What else are people devoted to? What? People are very devoted to their families. Right? Very loyal, very committed. It's very central to their life. Loyal to devoted to their good friends. Right? What else are people devoted to? Politics. Or to their own politics. Right? Yeah, or we might say many people are devoted to a cause. Right? Or many people are very devoted to a political party or a political ideology. Right? And when we say devoted, it raises the bar above just kind of interested in or somewhat committed to, right? Someone who is devoted is like all in. Is that true? Okay. So, devotion, being devoted, is a ordinary, common human experience, isn't it? And it's interesting because there may be some rational basis to it. One of the interesting things about devotion is it's more than just thinking. It's very much in the personality, it's very much in the person, it's very much in the heart, isn't it? So we might say devotion, just for want of a better word, is a certain kind of energy, right? That keeps one committed to, on target with, whatever the thing is you're devoted to. And it is deeper than thinking. Just close your eyes a minute and just touch your own place. Think about, what are the things in your life that you're devoted to? Again, a lot of times if we're really devoted to something, it's not like we think about it, but now I'm asking you to think about it. What are the things you're really devoted to? That you don't really have to think about anymore, because you're just devoted to them. Many people people can be devoted to their health. Right? Very devoted. Some people aren't. I'm very devoted to taking care of my body. It's more than just a mild interest, an intermittent commitment. And it's deeper than just thinking something's the right thing to do. There are many things we can think is the right thing to do, but when we're really devoted, we're adding a whole other aspect of our heart-mind. So please think about those things in your life that you're really devoted to. And you don't have to remind yourself, you don't have to encourage yourself, you don't have to, keep getting yourself back on track, you see, right? Because you're devoted. Over time it becomes sort of natural. Just raise your hand if you've kind of come up with some things that you're devoted to. So I just know we're all. Everybody find something or a couple of things or many things that you're devoted to. That's that heart. You don't think about it. All right, now close your eyes and then think about things that that you should do are good for you, but you have to remind yourself a lot. You have to encourage yourself, you have to get yourself fired up again, that your level of devotion is not like the other one. So think about things in your life, again, that you're involved in, and again, that are worthy. But you have to keep yourself fired up. You have to remind yourself a lot. You have to encourage yourself a lot. And if you could kind of imagine them on sort of two sides of your mind, can you kind of notice the difference? How one operates in your mind and how the other operates in your mind. I mean, for example, let's just take Kambina Sangha, right? There are some people who are what? Devoted. It's Sunday, go to Sangha, unless there's really something's come up. But then there are other people, and we're not going to have people identify themselves, who go, well, do I really want to go? And I know it's good for me, and I should go, but all right, you get it? So our relationship is different, and there's lots of things like that. So I want to talk about devotion again, because we don't talk about that a lot. Because I again, I think when people are first beginning, curious about meditation, mindfulness, spiritual path, yeah, devotion is not expected, is it? And it's probably better not to have devotion because you're kind of what? Checking it out. Right. But over time, one would expect something to change, so it becomes easier. And oftentimes, and this is sort of what I want to talk to it about, I think people who have been at spiritual practice, meditative practice, spiritual life, mindfulness, they sort of stagnate, or they don't reap the fruits of, or they find themselves sort of circling around, same old, right? And they get often frustrated. And I think a lot of that, well, one of the reasons is that they haven't really crossed over to devotion, which is a matter of more the heart than the conceptual thinking mind, right? The thinking mind can know something's good for me, but my heart hasn't embraced it yet, right? And between the head and the heart, what usually wins out? Unless the heart is strong. And the head aligns itself with the heart. Actually, in Chinese Buddhism, where they have characters instead of words like we do, they have characters. The character for mind is conceptual mind and heart. They're the same. They're put together in one character. So we say heart and mind, like they're two different things. But in these Buddhist countries, heart-mind is the same. Mind is heart-mind. They're unified. Yeah. So many of us come to Buddhism, right? Most of us are what we might call convert Buddhism, right? Whether you formally are a Buddhist or not, this is not the tradition we were born in, right? We are converting. Okay. And many of us come out of traditions that are what's called faith-based. Everybody know what faith-based means? Faith means what? It's often a belief in something unseen, in something you can't know, right? And so you have to have what? Faith. But again, it's really in the unseen, the unknown. You have to take something on faith. So we call them faith-based traditions. So in Buddhism, while again, everything is translated, it's more about, it's not about, well, there's no deity in Buddhism. See, there's no deity in Buddhism. There's no unseen thing to have faith in. So, again, many people come with this aversion to hearing words like faith or devotion, or maybe there's some of you already today, when Fred talked about devotion, you went, uh-oh. What have I wandered into? I thought I was getting away from that. Yeah, but again, that's why I want to start with showing, no. There are lots of things we're devoted to in this world, right? And that's the way I want to use it. So it is considered in the spiritual path of awakening, that devotion, trust, confidence is necessary to make advancement on the path. And again, that is for those people who've come out of traditions where everything was sort of faith-based and devotional-based. We have an aversion to that. But also, devotion implies trust and confidence. And another characteristic of our culture is we have trouble trusting. Don't we? Yeah. And we especially have trouble in trusting people in authority. Is that true? So we come with a lot of baggage, right? We come with a lot of baggage. But like in most cases, our baggage is unconscious. Unconscious meaning we're not aware that we're carrying baggage. We think what we're doing is right. You see, we don't realize it's baggage in the sense it's something I picked up along the way. I wasn't born with it, but I'm carrying it. Yeah. So, I think when you're, and again, Buddhism not being faith-based, not being, is a path, right? The Buddha said, the Buddha didn't teach Buddhism, and the Buddha didn't teach, faith in him, faith in the Buddha. The Buddha taught a path of awakening, right? He put forth teachings and practices that help people transform their lives, right? So it's a path. But you have to trust it, don't you? You see? If you're going to walk a path because you want to get somewhere, you have to what? Right? I mean, you have to trust that the path is accurate, that it'll get you where you want to go. You know, you might even have to trust the guide, right? Because you don't know the way, or you don't know how to follow the path. You can see the map, but you don't know all the challenges and obstacles that arise in the path. You don't know how to handle them. So you have to, trust, have confidence in the guide, you see. And if you want to achieve the fruits of what you're seeking, you have to be devoted, right? You have to be devoted. Now again, devoted may carry different emotional charges for people. Devoted means here what? Committed. Yeah, committed. I'm committed to this path. Now that doesn't mean I have to give up everything else, right? I mean, you can be a devoted fan of the Bucks, but you don't have to go to the stadium every day, do you? I mean, you can go to work and you can have a life and you can do other things, right? But when the Bucks are playing, what? What? Yeah, you're paying attention. And when you get together with other Buck fans, what do you talk about? The Bucks, or you know what I mean, right? You talk about who's playing who, and how do you see when so-and-so did the, right? See, we accept that as ordinary. We don't really realize the people who are having that conversation are the people that are devoted. People who aren't devoted aren't having that conversation. But people who are devoted having that conversation. If we're devoted to a person, if we're devoted to a family member, if we're devoted to a relationship that we want to nurture and care for and take care of, that's what we're doing, right? Not everybody's doing that, right? So, when we're walking a spiritual path, and when I'm just using a spiritual path as a meaning, a path that has to do with our interior life. Right? Many of us are We walk exterior paths, right? We work the path of work, and the path of family, and the path of athletics, our physical material world. But when we talk about quote-unquote spirituality, it's referring to our interior world. A path that helps our interior world. The world of our mind, which means our thoughts, the worlds of our hearts, emotions, feelings. Right? So we're walking a path because we want to heal and transform our interior world. And if we are wanting the fruits of that path, if we want, or even not even before you even walk a path, let's say you're just, you want to practice mindfulness and meditation for just mental health, physical benefits, right? Well, you have to be devoted, which means you have to do what? Practice. Practice once every 3 weeks. What? Well, if you practice once every 3 weeks, you'll get the results of somebody who practices once every 3 weeks. But if you want to get the results that are promised, then you have to what? Be consistent. And what's going to keep you consistent? The idea that it's good for you? How many people know about that one? Right? That's called the world of good intentions. Yeah. So that devotion to something is a energy that we need to bring to our meditative life, our spiritual life, all the things that we want to blossom, we have to be devoted to. Right? If you want to grow a beautiful garden, flowers and vegetables, you have to be what? Devoted. Devoted means I just don't go out there and plant the plants and say, see you when you're beautiful and grow. Yeah, you're out there, aren't you? Weeding and nourishing and making sure that the pests aren't getting at it, and pruning, and because you're devoted. Because you want a beautiful garden, or you want to eat the vegetables. So again, devoted is a very ordinary kind of word, and it is something that we know, but it's something often lacking when we come to this whole matter of our own liberation from suffering, our own, freedom from the narrowness and pettiness of self, our own desire to be free of afflictive emotional states. Where's the devotion to that? If we say, that's what I want, there has to be devotion. So so people who are devoted to the bucks or the lightning or the rays, you ever hang out with them? You ever go to their houses? What do they wear? What? What do they wear? Jerseys. And you might go to their home, and then you might see what? Flags. What? Paraphernalia. Pictures. Their favorites, right? Right? Why do they do that? Makes them feel, and it reminds them, it just sort of keeps it alive, doesn't it? It keeps that fever alive. Now, you come in here, we have this. And you might go, oh no. I came here for mindfulness and meditation. I didn't come here for idol worship. But that helps remind us what we're doing, why we're here. This is an image of what? Of an enlightened being who manifests all the wholesome qualities. See, we live in a very debased society. Anybody notice that? We live in a very toxic culture. Right? The dialogue of our culture, the reminders of our culture are not about love and kindness and compassion and understanding and patience and acceptance and, right? They remind us of to what? Yeah, selfishness, greed, power, anger, hate. We talk about people, scum. They're scum. So that culture is influencing us. So it's also important to have images and reminders of something else. So it's very easy to forget. So to have, and again, because as human beings, we have conscious minds, we have subconscious or unconscious minds that work on different criteria. See, images, music, sound, touch us in different ways than thinking. Right? So, does anybody have a picture of a relative in their home? Does anybody have a picture of a loved one, a family member, in their office? Why do you do that? What? Yeah. Because you're devoted to them. You don't want to forget them, do you? You want to remember them. Right? Makes sense? Devotion. You might not have realized it, those of you who are sort of new, but when we were chanting earlier, what we say? Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to Shakyamuni Buddha. You might not have even known you were saying that, but that's what we were saying. Why do we say that? To remind us, right, that there's something greater that a human being can be than just a narrow, little, constricted, petty self. Right? To open our hearts and go, yeah, we're grateful to these great beings. And the Buddha's not the only one who have appeared in this world and shown human beings another way to live, another way to be. Yeah. I'll pay homage to that. I'll be devoted to that. Why not? If I got to be devoted to something, why don't I be devoted to something that's really meaningful and worthwhile and that elevates me? You see, and when you have that kind of emotional devotion, it's no longer about, do I really feel like meditating today? I wonder what's happened in the news since yesterday. Very important. But if you have that commitment that transcends, how you're feeling in the moment, because you're devoted, you're committed, you're loyal to, all those qualities that we bring when we're devoted naturally, then it's not difficult to practice. You see, but if we don't have that quality, I'm just using the word devotion, then we often just kind of circle around. So, so one of the practices, again, remembering, recalling. So in Buddhism, one of the practices, like we take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, we say. It reminds us because there are not many things in this life that remind us, right? When you look at your selections on what's on Netflix, is any of this we're talking about, is that one of the selections for tonight? No. It's all about what? See, what's going to remind us that of our interior development, that we want to be more compassionate, we want to be more understanding, we want to be less self-centered. See, you know, until we're really far along the path, we need those reminders. And so often we have to consciously remember why we're doing what we're doing. We have to consciously remember because we live in such a debased time where, who are the heroes? Who are the people? We had dinner with somebody the other night talking about her 16-year-old daughters. Who does she look to? No, close. Influencers. Her daughters, always, she and her friends, they're all, influencers. Are these I don't know what influencers are, but I'm just asking you. Seems like lots of people know what they are. Are these noble beings? Are they inspiring you to be the best kind of human being you can be? Is that what they're influencing you on? What are they influencing these kids about? Or obviously you too. What are they influencing? Buy stuff. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. See, I thought she'd say Taylor Swift, who I don't know either. But influencers. This is an influencer, right? So when we come in here, you might have noticed, we bow. Now, why do we bow? We're not bowing to an idol. We're bowing to our own awakened capacity, that potential in each of us. See, back there, for those in the hall, next to Dion, we have another influencer. You see? That's an enlightened being and called the Bodhisattva of compassion. Right? That's an influencer. We see her looking down on the world, hearing the cries of the suffering of the world. We see the vase pouring out the waters of compassion. Oh, that's a good influence, isn't it? That's a good influence, a good reminder, right? To recall that, to remember that. Oftentimes we have to do this a lot, especially again because we're in such a debased, toxic culture where, like you said, everybody's trying to influence us to what? To buy. Yeah, I think it's even more that we, it's funny, I spent time in the Tibetan communities in India and then in Tibet. It's just very interesting being and I'm not selling Buddhism, but just anthropologically, it's interesting to be in a Buddhist culture in the way we're talking. Because, first of all, everybody has their prayer beads, their malas. Everybody's, even if they go in the market, wherever they're going, they got their things and they got their mantras going, right? Then you see monks and nuns in their robes walking around, as well as they have prayer wheels. I don't know if you've ever seen these prayer wheels all over the place. So you're walking along and there are these kind of wheels and you can turn them and inside are all these good wishes and teachings and you just give them a turn, They even have them in their streams, so the water moving along is turning these wheels. Then they have prayer flags. You ever see Tibetan prayer flags? Flying everywhere. Now, I'm saying this because reminders, constant reminders, right, about that which should be devoted to. I mean, they have those things in the marketplace, so you never forget. But we, as I say, it's much harder for us in our culture. Because even in the marketplace, religion becomes something that people argue about and try to impose their views on others, you know what I mean? So the whole thing is kind of leaves a bad taste. So I'm talking about something that's very interior. So again, having this trust, having this confidence in the path, this capacity to recollect why I'm practicing, why I'm doing what I'm doing. See, you know, when you're having trouble meditating, often what people do is they push themselves. I gotta do it. Don't do that. Stop and recollect. You know, recollect. You know, maybe you're here because some friends of yours came here and they said, wow, this practice has really changed me. Right? Oh, recollect them and go, yeah, if they did it, I can do it. Or recollect people who, you know, Thich Nhat Hanh, Dalai Lama, other teachers, you know, who really epitomize what it means to be a human being. You know, recollect them and say, oh, yeah, I'd like to have a little taste of that. Yeah. And then you come back to the, And again, I think, as I said, I think devotion, since it's more of the heart, it kind of balances that more intellectual, conceptual orientation that many of us have toward why we practice. Because again, the problem with that, it can be dry. Not a lot of juice there. I mean, think about being in relationship. Whether it's a relationship to a human being, to a cause, to an animal. Many people devote it to their pets. Did you notice that? It's more than just, I got to go home and, you know what I mean? It's more than just responsibility that you impose on yourself. There's that heart quality, isn't it? Yeah, it's very meaningful to me. So, there's so many things I can say. Why don't we stop and take questions? Or, so again, I want to open this up as a discussion, right? Because I realize people here at all different places. Brett, you're upstairs. People can chat in their question to Brett, and he'll relay it. People in the hall, so, and any questions, any challenges, if like, please, I'm open for everything, yes. Oh, and it's okay, yeah.
Well, I'm hoping this is helpful to not just me, but to other people as well. Mm-hmm. And it's about being devoted to more than one thing, as far as my spiritual life goes. Mm-hmm. And as you know, so I've been practicing Isha Yoga and devotee of Sadhguru for over 18 years. Mm-hmm. But then I came into mindfulness as well. Mm-hmm. And I see more similarities than anything else. And but there's this comparison going on within me between the two. And I just look at it as a problem of my mind, because from the very beginning I've said to you, I have this other practice, and you've basically said, so what, in a good way. Like, does that matter? No. Did anyone ask you what your background is? Anything like that. So it's always been very, welcome and not a problem. And the same is true from the other side, because you know. And we even say in the mindfulness trainings here, you know, not to be idolatrous, all that stuff. But I guess my point is that my mind still gets in the way as far as comparison. And then I think about, you know, I've heard this thing where people say, like, you know, if you want to get water, are you going to just dig in one hole, or are you going to dig holes all over the place? You're just going to dig in one place. So as a reminder to myself and to maybe other people who have,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, so in the old days it was easy, right? You know, if you lived in Tibet, you know, you know, there was no internet, there was no website, travel was not easy, you know, and you basically, you know, you sort of followed, you know, your local teachers, right? You know what I mean? So, you know, people had different levels of aspiration, but, you know, the choices weren't infinite, right? You know, we live in the opposite, right? We have infinite choices, not just in real life. I mean, like I don't know how many, one, you know, you have all the choices, let's say in Tampa, St. Pete area, you have all the choices within Christianity, Judaism, Muslim, you know, you have endless, choices. But I would imagine in the non-Judeo-Christian Muslim traditions, you have what? Endless New Agey kind of things, and yogic kind of things, and Buddhist kind of things, and right? Everybody know what I'm talking about. And that's just here, right? And then if you step into the web, you have the whole world. A whole world of practices, traditions and lineages and teachers and talks, right? Yeah. Again, I always say, you know, in the beginning, it's good to be a seeker. You know, you're looking, you're not sure, you know, you kind of, you know, you're looking for something, then you want to look around and see what, right? It's like dating, right? You play the field. But after a while, dating gets a little old, right? Because you know what you're really seeking is something you're seeking in a committed relationship, right? Well, it's the same way with spirituality. You know, at some point, you know, there are lots of wells in there, and they have all kinds of water, but at some point, you know, you go, yeah, I just want one good well or two good wells, and that satisfies me because I mean, each of the traditions, even within Buddhism, and there are many traditions and lineages with Buddhism, have their own methodology, right? Have their own paths. Now, there are some paths, even in different traditions, that go to the same place. But there's lots of traditions and lineages and practices that go to all different kinds of places. You know, I mean, the idea that, you know, all paths go to the same place is not true, right? I mean, you know, if you want to climb to the top of a mountain, you don't just go step into the valley and pick the first path you see, right? You want to make sure what? It's taking you to where you want to go. So, I mean, the nice thing about Buddhism is it's not faith-based. Right? And if you go to Asia, and if you actually go to Buddhist countries, you find that, oh, people are Buddhist, but they also go to the Taoist temples for this, or they go to the Shinto temple for that, or they have a shaman come in for this. So even though we say, you know, they have a centrality of belief, it's not as narrow, you know. In many of us, I think, growing up in certain traditions, we go, you know, once you've committed, like narrow blinders, right? Buddhism is not that way. It's because it's a path. It's how to live. So my sense is, you know, people. I mean, I don't know what people do. Even, you know, we have hundreds of members. I don't know what they do. I mean, they may go to temples or churches or all things when I don't see them. That's fine. If it's not contradictory, if it's not confusing, if it's not giving messages that are at variance. Do you see what I'm saying? Then it becomes problematic. But if everything kind of nurtures and supports you on your own path of transformation, it's fine. I mean, we get caught in the means and forget about the end. I was talking to somebody last week, it's going on about practices. They're doing this practice and how that practice. And I said, to be honest with you, I'm really not interested. What I'm really interested in is, what kind of person are you? And how do those practices make you a better human being? A better mother, a better wife, a better, you know what I mean? That's what it's important. So the means aren't that important as long as they're taking you to where you want to go, okay? Yes? And then Brett. Well, we'll take one online and then go. Yes, Brett?
Kathy says, I find that my mind can get into...
I what? Say that again.
Kathy says that I find that my mind can get into endless debates about the merits of practice, but when I walk into a Buddhist practice center, my heart says simply, I am home.
And I would say to Kathy, you're absolutely right. Again, we want to get to the point. Again, it's not like we manufacture devotion, right? Like the things in your life you're devoted to, you just didn't go, you didn't just go to one lightning game and go, I'm going to be a devoted fan from now on, right? It took time, right? There's a process that people go through. It's a process in the people in your life, your relationships, those that you're devoted to. You're devoted to them because over time, right, there was something wholesome in the relationship and positive in relation, that you wanted to support, that you wanted to be part of, right? And so, we want to get beyond, as I say, in the early stages, we'll do that back and forth, but we want to get beyond, in the Buddhist traditions, for practitioners, doubt is a big affliction. Just for this reason. Now again, that sounds contradictory, but the Buddha said, don't take everything I say based on faith, by trust. He kind of said, doubt everything. But what he meant was, check it out for yourself, and check it out for yourself by experimenting with it. Learn for yourself whether this is beneficial, whether this works. So at a certain point, we have to get beyond doubting the process, and if we want to get results from it, we have to be willing. It's like what? It's like taking medicine. Supposed to take it 4 times a day for the next 3 weeks. Simplest thing to do is what? Take it. You take it, why? Because you don't doubt the intelligence or the wisdom of the doctor, and you don't doubt the efficaciousness of the medicine. But as the doctor is giving you the medicine, you go, does she really know what she's talking about? Right? Or, does this medicine really work? Yeah, you may find what? That following through may be difficult. I mean, there you are, you're sick. You went to the doctor. She's telling you what's wrong. She's giving you a prescription. I mean, why not try it? Right? And at the end of the 4 weeks, if you're no better, you go, maybe this doesn't work. You've experimented and you have proof. But many people, because we're not devoted, and because we still cultivate a lot of doubt, and the doubting mind is often a what? A saboteur. It's a saboteur. You know, some doubt in the beginning, it's okay. That's healthy. But at a certain point, you got to decide, yeah, I'm in or I'm not. Right? Or not. You could always stay in the middle. I mean, you won't be arrested, but you won't get the benefits. That's why I'm talking this way. It's just because you won't get the benefits as long as you stay in that middle place. You may get some benefits. I'm not denying that. Yes.
I met you 2 years ago in June at the Saturday selfless service with the garden. And I think the past 6 months I've been approaching my practice the way I approached that day. I don't know if you remember, but I was a little bit obsessed and just sticking my hand in the dirt, and I wasn't going to ask for help, and I just kept going until they were all out. And it's because of my dad, because he's one of those people who would make lists every day, and he would draw a perfect square box, and he would check them off. And life was tasks, and you were worthy if you completed tasks. No. And I haven't been coming here. I've come twice this summer, and this is the third time since probably May.
Because?
And I beat myself up because I wasn't doing the task.
Oh.
And then it becomes hard because you're guilty because you haven't gone. You have too much work to do, so I had excuses. And then it's all the reasons that I came here to begin with.
Yes.
And then I come here, right?
Yeah.
I came Wednesday and I did Qigong, and it was like breathing after holding your breath. And listening to you today, it's exactly the same. And I just wanted to say thank you, because it's not, I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, I know dogma and I know devotion with a church, if you know what I'm saying. But that's based on guilt.
Yeah.
It invariably is. And there's never an ounce of guilt in this building. And that's because of you, and thank you.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. And, you know, for somebody with a, I mean, that's your conditioned self, that's your historical self. Imposition from the outside. Checklists of how to be and how to do from the outside. And so we grow up always looking to the outside for both, what should I do? But even worse, we look for the outside for confirmation that we're not doing it wrong. And that's the guilt and the shame. This is the exact opposite. So for those of you who know, this is the exact opposite. This is, I always say to people, no, you're learning to live from the inside out. We've lived our whole life from the outside in. What do people think of me? Who likes me? Who doesn't like me? How am I doing? Am I worth? We're always externally driven. I would see it like somehow as human beings, it's like early on in life we left our bodies and we're now like above ourselves, watching and observing, and always what? Comparing, assessing, judging. Pull it back in. All right? Pull it back in. Live from the inside. Yeah. This is something that I really, want to do. This is something that I want to do because I think it'll benefit me, or benefit my relationships, or benefit my life. And it's not going to happen overnight because, like you said, you're conditioned to this. But I mean, that's what it's about, and I think that's what you're saying. I mean, it's not you won't be arrested for not coming to Sangha. We'd have to arrest most of Tampa. Yeah, you come to Sangha because you think it'll benefit you, or you want to be with like-minded people, or you want to support others. There's lots of good reasons, But it should never come from shame or guilt. It should come from what? Devotion. Devotion here meaning commitment. Loyalty. Loyalty is something else. Like, again, it's not a loyalty that's imposed. Are you loyal to your friends? Yeah. It's not something you have to think about. Right? You loyal to your family members? Think about our family members. Are all of them stellar human beings? Right? And yet we're loyal to them. We'll stick by them. Right? It's a good way to be. Other questions? Challenges? Concerns? Yes, Brett.
Margot says, I don't understand reincarnation.
Well, you're not alone in that, Margot. To be honest, Margot, that's going to take me way off topic. Well, all I'll say to you is the Buddha rejected reincarnation, and he called it rebirth, which is different. He rejected the idea that there was anything permanent and solid in a being, including a soul. Reincarnation implies that's something that keeps incarnating. So Buddhism, it's more like energy, energetic field or something, I think, comparable. But so I would say rebirth is not, and reincarnation are ideas that are not central to the Buddhist teaching at all. I think believing in some sort of continuation makes life interesting. I think believing that you are a continuation from the past maybe helps people understand a lot about themselves that they may not understand if they just assess themselves based on, their parents and their family. You may realize, gee, there are things within me that I can't find in my family of origin, that aren't in my brothers and sisters, and yet there are certain kind of intuitions or just ways of being or things of knowing, So anyhow, I think it's interesting, but it's not central. The Buddha said, I teach only one thing, which is the end of suffering and the attainment of enlightenment, nirvana. That was his focus. So things like rebirth, reincarnation, they're a little on the side. I think they're interesting, but any other questions? Think about, please, think about your own life, things I've been saying today.
I have a question, Fred.
Yes, sir.
So I know you said devotion is not something that you manufacture, just kind of comes about. And but I was still taking mental notes while you were talking about,
Okay.
like what the Bucks fans do and trying to learn from
About
them.
what?
About what the Bucks do and how their devotion comes about and stuff. So I came to conclude that I need to decorate my room with more Buddhist stuff, so that I need to, remember that more. But I was wondering if you might have, or if you were going to talk about how to stoke that devotion a little more, because I feel like I need that.
Yeah, so a lot of that is, again, it's very traditional to recall the qualities of enlightened beings. Right? So in our tradition, we often recall the attributes of what are called bodhisattvas, enlightened beings. But there are many of them, and they have different qualities. And the way we do it is to realize, well, they're all qualities of my own mind. Right? So you might recall, let's say, the qualities of the Buddha, Shakyamuni, and just reflect that he was a human being who had all the advantages of a human life, and yet for some reason he renounced all his worldly things in pursuit of understanding and wisdom, right? Oh, that's interesting, right? And he was very devoted to that. And then he, through meditation, came to understand the nature of his mind, and in that moment he was free of all his afflictions, and that gave him the capacity to benefit lots of beings. Even till today, we are benefiting from that experience and that wisdom. So you might reflect in that way, and you can reflect on great bodhisattvas, the mind of compassion, the mind of wisdom, the mind of equality, and realize that's your own mind. Right. So, we need things that inspire us, right? We need to be devoted to things that uplift us, right? Take us out of the mundane, take us out of the ordinary, right? And remind us of our potential. Right? So there's a lot of interior kind of reflection. I mean, when the Buddha was dying, I mean, his disciples, who had been with him for a long time, decades and decades, and who had heard his teachings, started crying. Now, the Buddha didn't say it like, he didn't say knock it off, but in so many words he said, knock it off. He said, what have I been teaching you all these years? This is just a human form. It's subject to death. I leave you my Dharma. Meaning, I leave you the teachings and the practices that will liberate you. Right? Hold to them. So to recall that, oh, how fortunate I am that in this life I found a path, that can liberate me from all my afflictions, that can make me much better able to manifest as a good human being, right? Compassionate, loving, kind, patience, understanding. And that'll help me really bring benefit to other people. How fortunate I am. So reflecting in that way. I have an altar at home. You know what's on the altar? A Buddha and some smaller Buddhas that I've bought over the years. I have pictures of my 3 main teachers, all who have died. I have a jar with the ashes of my parents. Probably a few other things. And why do I have that? It's wonderful. It reminds me. And every morning I light incense and I bow. And I say, thank you. Thank you for showing me the way. Grateful to my teachers. They showed me the way. I entered this path when I was in my 20s, early 20s. Found good people to put up with me, to teach me, show me, guide me, right? Here, in India, you know what I mean? Thich Nhat Hanh. Yeah, I'm very grateful. So the altar is just a place of focus. You see what I'm saying? We are concrete people. You're an artist, right? I mean, why do people make art? Right? They take something that's here, it's immaterial, and they give it a material form, and that moves other human beings. I mean, that's music and art and poetry, it's kind of, that moves us. So the altar is it's a place that just reminds me of what's really important. Does that answer your question? But don't go too far. I remember once, this is way back, we were renting a house, and it turned out to be a house of a devotee, like of some Hindu teacher where all the focus was on the teacher. That was the main practice, worshiping the teacher. You walked into this house, the entire house was filled with pictures of the teacher, faces. It's a little overwhelming. Even in the bathroom. So don't go to that extreme, okay? But, maybe have, right? So, but it's, we need reminders. Again, because we live in a culture that all the reminders that what are we being reminded about all day? Politics. What else? What? Time. What else? Money. What? Consumption. Buy. What's wrong? Yeah. So, if you think about it, that's the environment we're in. That's why I might say it's a toxic environment. It means it doesn't nurture that which is wholesome, that which is healthy. So my own sense is these days, the days we're in, we need to be much more conscious about creating environments, let's say in our homes, that can kind of remind us of what's really important to me, what I'm devoted to. Because where else are we going to get that reminder? Like you were saying, you come here, this place is a reminder, right? You come here, the way it feels, the way it is, the way people are, you walk in the gardens. But this is unusual, unusual place in Tampa, right? So, it's good to have places like this, but I think, in our own ways, we should have a little recreation of that in our homes, right? Or even in your office, These are for people who are following, let's say, the Buddhist path, to have a little Buddha, discreetly. These days, with Asian art being very popular and trendy, you could probably just say, I just like Buddhas, Nobody know it really has some meaning to you. So, but okay. Other questions? Are there anything that's just not laying clear, or you have any doubts about, or? I'm good if you are. Good. Yeah. So, we want healthy relationships with our spiritual path. So that's it on devotion. Thank you for listening.